Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Penrite Insights. Today we're covering round 3 from Taupo. I'm here with Richie Stanaway. We're going to take you through the weekend and our observations and thoughts. So rolled up to the track on Friday, had a 90-minute practice session, a bit unusual for the category. Longer session, gave us a bit more opportunity to run some longer runs and things that we wouldn't be able to with shorter sessions. Good opportunity to learn the track. Obviously for you, Richie, opportunity to get stuck in on a supercar around that track. You'd never actually driven it before in anything, even though you're a local boy. So from your point of view, how was that day?
Yeah, the track was very, very tricky actually. We knew what we were in for because we'd gone over earlier to drive the Toyota 86, but with such a low-powered car, you don't really truly get a grasp for the changes in the track surface. Some of the corners that were easily full throttle in the Toyota 86 that were very challenging in the supercar. Particularly at turn 8, there was 3 patches of new tarmac on the old surface, so trying to find, I guess, an appropriate limit for the car through there without wearing the right rear tyre was very tricky because you're changing surfaces 3 times through there. So, and the grip at the corners that had the old surface was, I wasn't expecting much, but it was surprisingly a lot lower than even what I'd had in mind, and then the tyre wear comes with that as well. So I found it very challenging to get into a groove. And I feel like that's maybe something I needed to get on top of earlier in order to have a better qualifying, which is what kind of held us back really.
Yeah, it actually made it a very difficult track to learn because the tyre degradation was so high. You do your first lap, and that's the best you're going to get on the tyre, and then you come around the next lap, you go, I need to improve in this corner, but you can't because the tyre's taken a step back in a level, so it's a very difficult track to learn. And I think you'd probably find every driver by the end of Sunday was going, oh yeah, I could have done that better, could have done that better.
Yep.
You just can't actually replicate it because you don't have the tyre on the second lap.
Yep.
Yeah, so qualifying on Saturday, we woke up to wet conditions, but no further rain coming for the rest of the morning. So the track itself was drying out through the qualifying session. We'd also made some changes overnight to the car. We'd found a couple of issues with the car on Friday that sort of limited our performance on Friday, and potentially we reacted to those issues in the wrong way and made a change that was fixing those issues that weren't going to be there. So we didn't have the car quite in the right window, and then in the changing track conditions, very hard to get the lap at the right time. So ended up P23, so less than ideal. From your point of view, thoughts?
Yeah, so for me it was just, I guess, not getting the tyre phasing right, with rain coming down, on the windscreen and not being sure whether the track condition was going to deteriorate. It kind of made me rush my out laps and trying a bit too hard to do the time, especially on some laps when I should have just aborted and gone for a warming lap or a prep lap, and even going too hard on those laps that I've aborted to bring the tyre in. It was just a mistake on my part by not getting the tyre ready in such a challenging session. So unfortunately when you don't have the tyre up where it needs to be in terms of temperature, and then you finish your lap, you feel like you've driven close to the limit, but unfortunately the ultimate performance of the tyre isn't there. So I finished my last lap in qualifying and felt like I'd done a decent lap, and then I changed the page on my dash which tells me which position I'm in, and saw 23rd, and sort of yelled something in my helmet that I probably shouldn't repeat. So very frustrating session, and I knew it was going to set us up for a difficult race later that day, but fortunately the weather forecast saved us a bit.
Yeah, so looking ahead to the race, obviously the heavens opened and we were greeted with a bit of an ice skating rink for the race. So starting off P23, pretty challenging, but we had one of the best men for the job in the seat, and the wet weather conditions sort of gave him the opportunity to show his true talent. So take us through a bit about how you negotiated the wet conditions and your experiences up to this point that have helped you so much in that condition.
Yeah, so as soon as I saw that it would be raining for the race, I sort of knew that would potentially cover our poor qualifying performance, and I was really looking forward to the race. I knew it would be a lot of fun. Although you never know in the rain, you know, sometimes you can be really fast or sometimes you can be seconds off if things aren't flowing right. So until you get a few laps into the race, you don't really know what you have. But fortunately, we managed to have really good speed. You know, getting to 6th was great, but at the same time, I think, yeah, we left a bit on the table just in terms of a bit of luck. Like some cars I had a really good start, but then some cars got turned around at the first corner and I had to just effectively voluntarily drive off the circuit to avoid them, and went all the way back to last. And then we had a car do an unsafe release in the first pit stop that we had to wait for. Cost us a lot of time, and went back again a lot of positions, and then I made a mistake as well in the first stint after passing 6 or 7 cars, and went all the way back again. So I feel like if we'd actually had a clean run, we could have done a little better.
There's a bit of Groundhog Day there at points, coming up to the same guy to pass them 3 or 4 times in the first sort of 20 laps. Yeah,
for sure. But then once we got to 6, I feel like we were pretty tapped out on pace at that point. We didn't really we sort of had enough speed to match the leaders, but not enough where we were ever going to catch them. So perhaps we kind of got to where we could in terms of the starting position. But it was a really fun race. I really enjoyed it. Just coming through the field. Felt pretty sketchy at times. Track dried out a lot as well in the middle of the race, and some people had more of a dry setup, so then they came good, and then they faded again at the end when it started raining more heavily towards the end. So I really enjoyed it.
Sunday qualifying, similar conditions to Saturday, drying track, more dry than Saturday, but still a little bit wet on the edges of the track. So your last run of qualifying had to be the best because that was when the track was at its best. Similar sort of result for us, didn't quite get the tyre phasing right. Our lap from sector 1 on the second lap with the 2 sectors from the previous lap would have put us in the top 10. But we didn't get it on the 1 lap we needed to. So P14 for us again. And a definite improvement from the day before. There's still some work to do on getting the tyres up.
Yeah, I think for me it was a little improvement on the Saturday, but not quite as much as what I was hoping for. A little better on the tyre phasing, but still not optimum. And then second to that as well, there's just a little bit of technique that I'm working on in qualifying. I feel like when I drive the car in the race, I drive it a lot better, and I think that's just a bit of my recent lack of experience. So I'm hoping the further we get into the season, the better I will drive the car in qualifying. So I feel like once we get that tyre phasing nailed, and then I improve my technique slightly in qualifying trim, then we should hopefully move forward in the qualifying sessions, which is going to be very important through the middle part of the year because apart from the Melbourne Grand Prix, we've had longer races to have the opportunity to move forward in races, but through the middle of the year, we're pretty much gonna have a lot less opportunity to move forward in races. So we really need to work on the qualifying speed, and I have a pretty good idea of where that's going to come from. So hopefully I can implement that from Perth onwards.
Probably a race where we didn't maximise the strategy as well as we could have. We feel we had the pace to be at least up where James Golding finished. He was in 5th. We went for a longer strategy, but went too long. Had a lot of battles in the middle of the race. Richie did a great job moving forward. Had got ourselves to 9th with 2 laps to go, but then had a bit of a argy-bargy with Brody and Waters. Got a penalty, so that dropped us to 13th from probably would have finished. We did finish 9th. We did finish 10th. Potential for 9th. But yeah, it was actually a really strong race for Richie. best tyre life we've seen from him so far this year, so a lot of positives from that. And yeah, that ended the weekend. Obviously a big weekend, huge crowd, great support from New Zealand fans. So from your point of view, how was the weekend?
Yeah, obviously a pretty mixed weekend, some ups and downs, but the end of race 2 gave me some good confidence, to have a good stint and just feel really confident to push the car and also save the tyre. So one of the big positives to take away from the weekend. And then I think, if we get the qualifying speed sorted, then we should be in for some much stronger results. It was incredible to race at home. Massive support for the team. We smashed our record for merch sales, which was great. I've never really been in a situation before racing supercars full time where I've had people queuing up for, I guess, our merch. So I've only ever had that before when I've driven with a really high profile teammate, or I'm co-driving with someone that's won championships before, and then obviously you get big merch sales. So it was a new experience for me to turn up to a merch signing session and see a huge queue for the merch, and it was a really cool feeling, huge amount of support, and hopefully when we go back next time we can be a lot stronger.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Penrite Insights. Hopefully we've provided some decent information and understanding what happened to us at the Taupo weekend. Look forward to seeing you all again for the next episode.